Minute 38 remaining. They lead by 10 points. It's Fremantle's game to lose here. Sanderland's the big fist. Oh, look at that.
What are you going to do?
Somehow lobs the interchange bench and into his hands. Maybe it's Fremantle's day. Walters is on. Hill keeps going. This to send them into a home preliminary final for the first time in their history.
All right, Matt Judd, welcome. How are you?
G'day, Monkey. Good to be back after a short little break.
Yeah, a little hiatus after an exciting game, the North game. Unfortunately, we have to skip that and move on to more promising game in the big derby number 45, where the Eagles 16 goals 7 103 took down the mighty Dockers 9-8 62.
Yeah, it wasn't our best showing, was it? But I think after the North game, when we were both actually at it, I'd lost my voice for a good week anyway, so I don't think we could have done the podcast even if we were organised enough for it.
No, that's all good. So we'll move into the disappointing derby. We'll get started. After quarter time, we did only lose the game by 1 goal, so we did come back into it. As we were talking before, you let any team really against us kick a 7-goal-1 quarter, let alone first quarter, the game is going to get away from you.
It does make it pretty hard, doesn't it, when you're 6 goals down at quarter time? Not something you want to be looking up at the scoreboard at quarter time. No. Ross was pretty animated at quarter time. I think as much as that sort of stat sounds good, like we only lost the last 3 quarters by a goal, it is one of those cherry-picked stats where, you know, teams that get flogged can often go, oh, look, we only lost the last quarter by a point. We're still not bad. I think we got pretty convincingly done, but for a number of reasons, which I'm sure we'll cover in the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, definitely. Well, looking at the stats, we got smashed in disposals 447 to 358. Inside 50s and clearances were even, but it was more uncontested and marks. Like once we turned it over in our forward line, they were just off to the races.
Yeah, Eagles are a very methodical team with how they move the ball. So they turn the ball over generally with our favourite hit-up target in our forward line, Jeremy McGovern. They use him, he takes the mark, he hand passes or kicks laterally, and they methodically work the ball up the wing or through the middle and then get some run going. And often they'll have you on the overlap and Gaff will get out or Shuey will get out or someone. But they sort of play it similar to a Hawthorn game, obviously Simpson being from Hawthorn as well, where they keep the ball off you for a long period of time when they're playing well. So they flog you with the stats as soon as they have a win, and they definitely did that this week.
I haven't seen us kick it to a spare man in defence. Last time I remember us doing that was Brian Lake when we won him the Norm Smith.
Well, it was, you know, I hadn't thought about that because it still sort of brings up past very painful memories for me. Not that we remember much of that night after the game, but I remember getting kicked out of the same strip club twice with you, though. It was very much like that. So we just look up, shit ourselves, bomb it in. They come back out, probably score a goal, if not, you know, hold the ball for a long period of time. And then when we get the ball again, we do the same thing. So it's very much immature football by the guys. And I think guys like Fife and Mundy should have been like, fuck, boys, let's not do that anymore. Let's hold the ball up if they're outnumbering us in our forward line. Kick sideways. Let's just make it so it's 2-3 minutes before the next goal, not 30 seconds.
Do you think that it's a new forward line, like it's a gelling thing between the forwards and the mids, or what would you put it down to? And the other thing is, why can we not get the ball to ground? Like that just seems not even to ground, but create a contest.
Well, it's pretty hard to spoil McGovern for one. He's excellent, but I think it's reminiscent of how we've been playing for the last 18 months or so. We've had bad forward entries. And I think when we were really good in 2015, which is a long time ago now, isn't it? It was because we were moving the ball quickly through the midfield that we were scoring. And when we were scoring the last couple of weeks, that was when we were scoring, was those quick movements.
Yeah.
So it's not the fact that we're getting good on inside 50s when we score, it's the fact that the ball's coming in so quickly that they can't set up. Whereas when they are set up and we bring the ball in, we get found out pretty quickly, particularly with guys like McGovern and Yo and Barras. So I'm not sure what the solution is. I think it has to be something to do with not kicking inside 50 before we're ready to kick it inside 50.
Yep.
And also making sure our kick inside 50 is a sure thing, even if it's to the 45-metre mark, rather than just kicking high into no one to get it deep, particularly when we do that when we don't even have players there. So kicking to that one when it's slow, like particularly towards the end of games when you're wasting time, you want the big contest, the pack of 10, that's fine. But when you're kicking to a 1-on-3 in that sort of scenarios, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like we do it a lot.
No, that was disappointing. But in the forward line, positives for old Rickety Cricket. I thought he had a reasonable game for a forward line that didn't get a lot of quality put in there. Kicking the first 3 goals of our game, he was pretty good.
Yeah, Rickety Cricket keeps growing each game, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's going to be one of our favourite players soon, I think, if he keeps growing.
Definitely. I really like him. He looks very...
He looks disgusting. Can we just put it that? But yeah,
footy-wise, he seems quite athletic, and I think he's going to grow into his body and become quite skillful as well. Like, he certainly looks like he definitely knows how to play the game.
Well, this is a massive side note, but so just you saying he's going to grow into his body. So I was watching something on Fox Footy yesterday, and it was something to do with the top 20 media, bombshells, and one of them was Lyon leaving St Kilda to come to us. But they had when Fitzroy lost. So Fitzroy got booted from the league, and their last game was against Freo at Sud. Yeah, I think I was there. Like I somewhat remember we pantsed them as well by like 60 points in their last game, and they were showing footage after the game of the Fitzroy boys walking around, and they all looked like weeds. Like they all looked really skinny. And really unathletic. I was thinking, has the game changed so much that now when you look at someone that's an AFL player, you're like, they should be an absolute rig and huge in the arms and stuff like that. And I think Cricket looks like he's still in the weedy phase.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't look big in the arms. He's a key forward. He should be huge, really. So if he starts putting on a bit of that weight and keeps his that speed and that athleticism, then I agree with you. Watch out, man.
Yeah. No, I definitely. When I say grow into his body, I just mean probably more develop than like he's definitely not small, but yeah, I reckon he's still got room for improvement.
He's tall, but he's not thick.
No,
is he?
No, he's not thick, boy.
He's not thick. Like you know how Fife really packed on weight.
Yeah. Do we since
Fife really packed on that weight when he went from sort of the half forward to the midfield role. If we can get Fife hanging out with Rickety Cricket, they both have long hair. They can talk about that. But get him on Fife's gym regime, and we could have another like absolute gun there.
Definitely. Since you've brought Fife up, do we jump into the trade rumour?
Oh yeah, let's.
But
I'll have a little rant about that first. So basically, the media is so ready to jump at anything. Like yesterday or the day before was pretty slow news, so they just jumped at it. That it was some guy at 96 FM, I think, that goes, so I heard that the Fife deal is pretty much done. And it's like, okay, what deal? So he's being talked to as a restricted free agent. Freo still have to see the deal and say yes or no. There's so many things to the story that was just like overlooked, and it was just media going, "Ooh, that'll get some clicks."
Definitely.
What do you reckon?
Especially after the Derby. I mean, people
and Fife was under the spotlight as well.
Yeah.
For elbowing. Oh, sorry for Yo headbutting his elbow.
Yeah. Well, I listened to Brad Scott. He was on Fox Footy, and Brad Scott just shook his head and he said he's a restricted free agent. That's not even possible. He just said that's wrong from beginning to end. Like a deal with him cannot be done. We can wait. Freo can wait till the last minute of the trade week to match the offer. So no deal's done until that very last minute where we decide yes or no, are we going to match? So you got to get a possible offer, then you got to wait all that time for us to possibly match it. So I don't think, it was just wrong from start.
Well, the interesting thing was St Kilda had come out and they were equally as embarrassed by it because, one, he was saying he was getting the information directly from a board member and they were like, holy shit, like, even if that was the case, one, they're looking for the leak and they're like, you cannot fucking tell people this already. And two, they're like, what sort of picture are we painting about board members that are leaking stuff to some peanut that works at a Perth radio station?
Yeah.
So the whole thing was just really that should be something where the media go, okay, you've got a 2-week suspension, mate. Like, you suck.
Yeah.
for coming out. Like, why do AFL players get suspended for stupid actions but not media people?
Yeah,
more or less.
A Perth DJ who pretty much just bought in to the whole AFL media scene. But a respected station like us won't buy into it, Juddy.
Well, our sources are always... we pretty much name our sources, so you can track back any information. And most of what we say is hearsay anyway, so it doesn't really matter what we say.
Right, we'll move into this week coming up. We'll have a quick look at the Dons' game before we launch into some fantasy and some roughies. So we got the Sunday afternoon game against Essendon. I would consider us and Essendon not at similar stages, but this is another possible game for us. This one, depending on how we come out, I think this is definitely a winnable game.
I 100% think it's winnable. I think probably where us and Essendon are at as like a similar performance state, not necessarily a similar development state, but similar performance. So inconsistent, can pull out a pretty good game, fairly sloppy most of the time, but good spirit. I don't know, that's sort of where I see both teams.
Definitely.
So I think good thing we haven't left Perth for a couple of weeks. We're probably in a decent bit of health besides Hill, starting to get those guys. Like, we're starting to get pressure from underneath with Peel. So I think we're in a really good space to beat them, and they're going to have to get over a few woes from last week. I think this Merritt guy, Zach Merritt, is such a gun. Like, he is an absolute weapon. So we're going to have to send probably, I don't know who goes to him. I was going to say Blakely, but he's pretty quick. Yeah. Pretty hard runner. Maybe if we give Shero a role, unless Shero gets dropped, which would be great.
Oh, yeah, hopefully.
That'd be pretty good.
We'll get into that when,
what do you reckon?
When live teams gets dropped. We'll look at who gets named.
After you've given your opinion, I'll read out the team, mate.
All things have been released. Well, this week to me is we need Michael Walters to fire, and we need old Tambling down back.
100% agree.
Old Tambling down back to hold Danaher down.
Old Tambling?
Yeah. Shout out Ducky.
You call him Tambling?
Yeah, I call him Tambling because it's saying it wrong, and that's where Ducky's from, and Ducky coined that the use of the wrong naming.
Yeah, I do love that.
But
sometimes I listen to Purple Rain and just laugh at Ducky. Like, I don't even really listen.
But no, Joe Danaher needs to have a quiet one, and Michael Walters needs to step up, especially if he gets thrown in the middle. We need him to have that game. Remember, I think it was against Adelaide. In Adelaide, he kicked like 3 goals and had 30 disposals. We still lost the game, but he just had that one where he played in the midfield and just played out of his skin.
I think I know what you're talking about.
I remember. I'm pretty sure.
I think it's really important that he plays a game where he's relatively consistent across 4 quarters. So he only played well against Melbourne. I think it was the Melbourne game. He only played well in the 4th quarter. He was pretty shit until then, from memory. So I think he's been pretty average across, most quarters in the first 6 rounds. So I think we need him to step up in general.
And I think when the midfield when they begin to get on top of us on the weekend, was when Brad Hill, Stephen wasn't there, but Brad Hill wasn't looking dangerous. No Stephen there. There was no one there that looked to be on the outside looking dangerous. And then they can lock down players like Mundy and Fife, and it becomes easier to defend. So I think it's super important that Walters gets in there and looks dangerous. And
100%.
It is dangerous.
I think Walters can add the He's not the same sort of player, but the flair that we miss from Hill, like can break the lines, good left footer, relatively skillful, will take the game on, those sort of things.
Yeah.
Whereas we just missed a whole player that does that basically on the weekend. And I think other two midfielders being down money and Fife, basically it was Blakely, Neal, and those were the main guys. So yeah, I think if Walters can have a bit of a crack and get some form going, that'd be really useful.
Oh, definitely.
So the teams are still waiting, even though it's clearly 6:25 p.m.
They haven't been dropped?
Say again?
Okay, well, if teams haven't been dropped, we can move in. We can quickly jump right to fantasy.
Oh, well.
We got 2 weeks to get through.
Yeah, we sure do. So go to round 5, which would have been a good week to talk about, but in terms of our fantasy game, it was pretty close in the end. So actually, no, it wasn't. I absolutely annihilated you. So I had Talia score 3 points, which gives me a 97 for Talia. And I also had Rowe and Nathan Brown score 17, giving me 83 apiece. So I scored our highest score so far at 263.
Oh. Did Talia get injured or what happened?
Yeah, I think Talia hurt his hamstring, came off, but then he was okay the next week, which is such a treat. This is sort of what you want. You want a guy that's injury prone but can still get up the next week. Like the Peter O'Rourke style. Peter O'Rourke once broke his back in inverted commas and played, I think, 1 week later. All right, so your team, you had Rance, Nick Smith, and Lemons all score around the 50 mark. So you got 149.
Still not bad.
Well, this week, mate, is a completely different story. So the final margin was 7 points. I'll run through your players. Rance scored you a 61, which you just need him to get less of the ball, mate. Nick Smith and Lemons were both a bit better. Nick Smith got 38 in a Sydney loss and Lemons 58. Whereas for me, Rowe 47. Sam Rowe is such a treat. I don't think he scored over 50 yet. Nathan Brown 43 and Jonas 60. So final score, Monkey 143, Giardi 150. It's currently 4-0, but
undefeated. Well, we're going to have to make some big changes this week.
Yeah, let's do another mid-season draft.
No, I'm only going to make the one change. I'm getting rid of Lemons. Lemons has been killing me.
Mate, he's one of your only players that's been playing every week.
Yeah, but he's still killing me. No, actually, I'll drop Rance.
Mate, okay, so far you're carrying Vickery, who hasn't played in weeks, and you're going to drop Rance.
Okay, I'll drop Vickery, and I'm gonna bring Mason Cox in.
Yeah, I like that. Is he playing? Definitely.
I hope so. Well, he played last week. He's such a crab. I don't know if he'll get back in. Well, I hope so. But anyway, Ty Vickery for Mason Cox, straight swap, pretty much.
Yep.
And then, but I'll put Lemons on the bench if we have a bench.
Just drop him. I won't pick him up, mate.
But that's the one. I'm only making the one trade.
Oh, yeah. Well, so the whole... Mate, you're forgetting the rules. So we have 5 players, and it's the best 3 out of the 5. The best highest scoring 3 out of the 5 in terms of reverse fantasy.
Yeah. Makes
so we've got two reserves each week, and it doesn't matter who you pick. All right, so I'm going to get rid of Phil Davis, who's done a hammy, and I am going to add in... I've been really looking at Jesse White, but I'm scared he's going to get... not delisted, but dropped. I'm going to add in Josh Green, who plays for Essendon. I think. Doesn't he? Yeah, he does. He was the guy that they said had put on a little bit too much weight last year when he was playing for Brisbane. And that's my sort of player. So I'm going to pick up Josh Green. So we'll see how we go this week. You're looking to break your duck, mate.
We could be on, but... More importantly, just coming in hot off the press, teams have just been dropped.
Have they?
Yeah, I'll just have to figure out how it works. On the new, the new Facebook, the new app for AFL is so bad. But
no, it's not.
I'm getting the stats in now. They're coming in.
our teams haven't been dropped yet, but only Gold Coast and Geelong have. Ooh, there's been a lot of changes in that game.
So the Dockers they don't get an out yet because Sunday Arvo, they won't.
No, they do. They just name the extended bench because the Melbourne Hawks game's been uploaded.
So we got Subin, Sutcliffe, and Tabner.
Smoke and Joe Hogan's come back in for Melbourne.
So they still won't. They still won't name Collins.
How do you know?
Well, the Freos ins are Subin, Sutcliffe, and Tabner.
Oh, they have dropped. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, they are too. All right. So surely Sutcliffe comes in maybe. So we're not adding in Griffin yet. Bombers have 2 ruckmen, don't they? Oh, Bell Chambers is out. Sweet. And Joe Watson is rested. Mate, we might smash him.
I don't know if it will smash him, but...
Oh, they brought in Leuenberger for Bell Chambers. All right.
Well, okay, we should go through them and name them so people can understand why we're talking about it. Kelly comes in for Essendon with Stanton, Leuenberger, Myers, Hartley, Stewart, Francis, and Much.
Yeah, Kobe Much is a good name.
For bringing up their... so that's their extended list. And so the Dockers are going to include maybe 2 of these 3, you'd say, out of Subin, Sutcliffe, and Taberner.
Well, I think Subin's just coming in as the emergency. Maybe Tabner because the forward line didn't really function very well. And I'd say Cam Sutcliffe's done enough to come back in. He's still pretty young as well, so I don't mind him coming. He's not in the Daniel Pearce category. He's sort of just in the category of I don't really like the way he used to play.
I think he had over 35 touches.
I think he had 35, 36 and has done that on the wing, midfield and half-back. So he can sort of be a bit of a utility for us around those positions.
I got no idea how Collins doesn't get named.
Yeah, it's disappointing, particularly when Ibbetson's still getting named. Like, come on, man. Can we drop Ibbetson yet?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Why is he a protected species?
They might be getting... the back 6 might be getting off a little bit light just because of the way that it's moving in. So they might not even... it's coming in that quick. They don't really... And people are getting out the back, so they're bleeding goals through things that might not be their fault. So maybe that's why Ibbo's... As in
they're putting the blame on the midfield sort of pressure, midfield forward pressure rather than the backs.
Yeah, not sure. Well, that's the only thing I can offer up. Otherwise, I would say straight swap Collins for Ibbotson. It's time to make a move.
Well, I don't see what they're holding on to Ibbotson in there for. Like maybe they have. Sometimes teams you hate a player as a fan, but the teams really like him. Like
Zach Dawson.
Well, I don't even think they like him, but maybe Sean McManus was one. It's like, do we really need that guy playing? But yeah, those sort of things. I don't know. But yeah, interesting that Subin and Sutcliffe come back in.
I can see Sheridan getting dropped for Subin quite easily.
I think it'd be Sutcliffe that would come in for Sheridan. I think Subin's probably the 3rd player out of those 3 to come in. He's the emergency, I'd say.
All right, well, moving away from teams, and let's jump into roughies.
Jared Roughheads.
I went terribly in round 5.
Yeah, we both didn't win. You picked Sydney over JWS. Sydney kicked the first 4 goals of the game in the first 2.5 minutes, and then I don't think they scored another goal for 2 quarters or something like that.
GWS kicked the next 9.
Yep. And I went Saints and Geelong.
Almost.
Which, Saints were pretty good, but Saints have been that team this year that I've backed so many times in my own bets and also this. And they just don't want to get across the line for me. They get close. All right, so this week there's a couple of big odds games. The two that we won't probably pick is the Roos at home versus Adelaide at $6 and 5, and Brisbane in Sydney at $6.70. They're pretty juicy.
I've put money on Sydney. I think I've backed them in the roughies. I think I've picked them 3 times, and they still can't get up. At $1.11, I wouldn't put a cent on them. I wouldn't trust them.
Yeah, I agree.
Same goes to the Hawkers. Probably a game that I'm looking at and moving towards might be the Doggies Richmond. Doggies could be a bit cooked from last week against GWS coming back. Richmond, this will probably be a massive game for Richmond after all the hype that they get. well, they get it, I'm pretty sure, unjustified, but this would be a big game for them coming off that, getting absolutely smashed. Meant to be the real deal. So I could see them getting up at $3.52. So that's probably what I'm going to lock in, actually, as much as I hate Richmond.
Yeah, I like that. I actually really agree with that. I reckon Richmond could bounce back. And they're actually not a terrible side. They're just nowhere near as good as everyone was talking about them being.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm actually going to the Richmond Dockers game next week.
Ooh.
In whatever round that'll be, round 8. So should be a little treat. Hopefully Freo can rock up for it. All right, so this week I really was tempted by a few of those $6 odds games, particularly, a team that's winless going in and the opposition is $6. But I'm going to go, I think Carlton actually are pretty good, and I don't think Collingwood are okay. Carlton to be $3.20 in this game is pretty outrageous, so I'll chuck my $5 on Carlton.
Carlton being $3.25 is almost as outrageous as Collingwood being $1.36.
Oh, they're on the same amount of wins. Carlton had a win last week, so did Collingwood, but are Collingwood back just because they beat Geelong and Geelong didn't play very well? We've been talking about Geelong have been ready to drop one for a long time.
Yeah, well, you can put money on the line. You can have Carlton plus 19.5 points at $1.92.
Yeah, that's pretty rowdy as well. No, I'm not going to do that.
But
I want that $3.
All right. Well,
go on, mate.
No, well, I think we were going to talk about the Yo5 thing. Maybe
should we have a quick chat about the MRP in general, but then the Yo5?
Yeah, I could definitely bring up the MRP. I got bones to pick with them massively this week. Rory Sloane punches Ebert in the face in a similar situation, misses the ball, goes straight into his face, draws blood, Ebert leaves the ground. Green hits the smallest guy on the field with a helmet on, so he's got a helmet on, hits him, misses the ball. That front-on angle looks really bad. He gets 2 weeks for that.
Yeah, the front-on angle looked terrible, but only in slow-mo. Yeah. In real time, it just looked like it was a sloppy spoil.
But I don't understand how, if you watch the Sloane incident, it is just as bad. It is the same. It is obviously no two incidents on the football field are identical, but as far as they go, there's a 2-week difference between them. I don't even think he got fined.
Yeah. The inconsistency is still the major problem. It's similar with umpiring. It's the inconsistency that people get worried about. If we could predict what things would happen, people would be a lot happier. Even if it was like someone punching someone in the face and not getting a week, would be like, no, that's the same as last time. But it's the inconsistency that people hate. I think those incidents where it's a sloppy spoil and the person ends up being relatively okay. I mean, the free kick, the 50-metre penalty, on-field penalties, I think, do them. But really, does he deserve to miss 2 weeks for like a little tap? I don't know. The other one is the Yo tackling Fife at a contest, no free kick. Fife basically just wriggling his arms out of a Yo tackle and clipping him in the face. It wasn't one of those where you're being tackled and you swing the arm back where you know they are. And people going, he should get 100 weeks. Yeah, I love reading the Facebook threads for that sort of thing.
The thing that probably got him there was the fact that Yo was down a lot lower than Fife. Like, Fife was standing up a lot taller. So when you watch it, he's just swung from his elbow height backwards, and Yo's down there, and it's probably more... It's just a natural reaction.
It's more incidental rather than he actually swung his elbow, even if it was reckless or careless or whatever. Just incidental contact. Similar to if you accidentally touch someone in the head in a marking contest, it's not necessarily a high contact free or a suspension or whatever.
Well, I'm glad that they got that one right.
Yeah. I love, similarly now reading I love Facebook threads purely because they make my blood boil and amuse me at the same time. It's like this weird mix. But reading how apparently it's because Fife's a protected species, and then it'll be like the AFL just wants him to win a Brownlow, and people will be like, he's definitely not going to win the Brownlow. So it's like the same people are saying the same point but arguing different points.
Different reasons for it.
Yeah, it's so good. And then there's just some peanut. My new favourite page, which I hope all of our 4 listeners start watching, is What's it called? Battlers on Facebook or footy battlers or something like that?
Footy naffers, maybe?
Footy nuffies. Oh, yes. It's one of my favourites, so I'll find it right now.
But no.
Nuffies on AFL pages.